Okay, hello everybody. Welcome to Bloom Pod episode 3. Once again, thanks everyone for all the really nice comments on YouTube and hopping in our live chat. It's doing well enough that we splurged on a second SM7B. So hopefully the microphone quality is a little bit better than our wireless mics.
I was actually hanging out with a friend and he was like, I'm surprised at how good like your maybe I should say surprised, but he's like, I was really impressed with like your production quality and like the like general output of what you guys are doing. I was like, that's so funny you say that because I think I watched back Bloom Pod episode 2. I was like, wow, this mic quality is terrible.
I don't know what changed because somehow it was better on the first episode than the second episode. I think because we were using the interface or whatever. And last time we did the camera, but yeah, and still got to hang in there with us because who knows, maybe I'll just be breathing into this microphone.
We're really
we can't
still
hear
irony.
ourselves. I pushed for headphones so we could hear, but Maddie didn't like it. So
maybe we could. I don't know.
Everything is still a trial run. So if you're really listening to all these, thank you from the bottom of our hearts. We're really excited about this, and it's just a ton of fun. But yeah, so we got a lot of cool topics this week. Maddie is very wise and always leads us in a good direction here with what we're going to talk about.
I'm trying my best, but I think we've had some pretty good conversations.
Oh yeah, no doubt. And I love getting, if it ever gets like natural too. Really want this to be, as accessible as possible for everyone. I know maybe if you're not a hardcore audiophile, I heard you were saying, there was a lot of gear talked about in the last episode. I'm not sure what's going on. We're tweaking things. We're still learning. So please bear with us and thank you so much for all your support. Do you want to get into it?
Let's do it.
Cool. So the first question that you wanted to talk about today is so funny. I think this is a question on like everybody's mind when they just think about this hobby regardless. I think whether you've just made a couple of purchases on some lower budget headphones or IEMs, or, maybe you have a lot of mid-tier stuff and you're just holding back from really taking the plunge and grabbing yourself like a flagship IEM. Guess just like what differences can you expect from a flagship set? It can be IEM, it could be a headphone. I mean, it could be a desktop, DAC or whatever. What differences can you kind of expect, and kind of what would lead you to upgrade? If you set price aside and you just eliminate it, what should we be expecting from gear, kind of in this area?
Yeah, I think it does vary depending on if you're looking at like an IEM headphone or obviously like a piece of source gear. I think source gear, the flagship stuff gets tricky because unless it's like a tube amp, like really expensive DACs, you just have to make sure, I'm not a huge graph sniffer, but like for DACs, like it is really important. You want something that measures, really well, has really low distortion, things like that. If you're looking for a very clean reproduction. If you're not looking for that, maybe you do go with something that doesn't measure all that great. But to me, I think that's risky business. If you're getting like a flagship DAC, I think you want it to both have a lot of features like EQ or some kind of UI built in that you can manage and really make your own, whether that's through filtering settings or whatever. And you want something that measures really well. So DACs and source gear, I feel like for the most part, tube amps, you want a good stock tube set in there. That's why I bought the HA2A, because I really like the tubes that it came with, right off the bat. RCA clear tops, they're great. They're NOS. That's all great. So that stuff is a little bit easier, but like headphones and IEMs, I think is where it gets a little bit trickier. Like
definitely, I would agree with you 100%.
Headphones, I really look for like build quality. Like I think that's what separates a lot. Like you look at the Audio-Technica line, like I have the R70X are fine. It's comfortable, but the materials used, they're a little bit on the cheaper end, and that's fine because what you're paying for, it's a great piece of equipment for the price. But then you look at the Meze Empyrean 2, and it's like, okay, there's levels to this game. Like there is the Empyrean 2 that comes with all these super premium components. You can wear it. I mean, how long could you wear an Empyrean 2?
All day.
Yeah.
And it looks kind of funny for someone outside of the hobby. It does, but that's a good point with headphones. Like I didn't even think about build quality. I've been thinking about sound this whole time.
And I think IEMs is where sound is most.
Yes.
That's where like that transition as well. Like IEMs, what's interesting about IEMs is like, the materials and the build quality and usually the drivers are a little bit higher end. We've been seeing more branded drivers in like medium price sets and budget sets. But with IEMs, it really is the tuning style. And in like, the $300 to $500 range, right now you're seeing so much like meta IEMs. Flagship IEMs do not go by like meta tuning. And I think that's why a lot of people at CanJams and listening events can be like, wow, I hate the sound of this. And it's like, I get what you're saying, but it's because you probably haven't heard it before, and it's very unique in the sense of like it differs a lot from the market. Also, there are bad sounding flagship IEMs. That's just something that we have to lay a precedent for. That
objective or subjective,
yeah. There are some bad sounding flagship IEMs, but I think for the most part, what some people don't realize is a lot of flagship tuners, whether from just not knowing what the meta is or just wanting to do something entirely different than what the market's hearing, that's going to come with the cost of listening to something that you really don't like or listening to something that's groundbreaking, like Subtonic Storm. That was something that was like, wow, I've literally never heard this or this kind of tuning style really before. And then, some lower price sets.
Best vocals in the world.
Yeah, like, and then some lower sets tried to emulate that, and it's like...
And some of them did pretty good.
They did. There's a few of them that I think of that I'm like, wow, like Zigot Odyssey got pretty close. Like a few sets, the Mega 5 EST did a really great job of setting the new meta precedent. There was a set before that did well, but for the most part, the Mega 5 EST really emerged that tuning style.
Yeah.
But yeah, I do think with flagship IEMs, that's why they can really be polarizing, not just because of their price, but because they're doing something so different than what the current market is, and they're really setting up for a sound signature that just hasn't been done before. And again, that's going to come with some failures.
And what I think about with flagship IEMs versus something more of a mid-tier or a budget set is, I think if you're at the point in your kind of journey as an audiophile, sounds so funny, but you're at a point where you've owned a couple pairs of IEMs, and now you've done your own research and you're looking at the graphs and you've been doing a lot of listening, and maybe you are adjusting things when it comes to your source with EQ or whatever. I just think that there's the level of like technical excellence that you can expect from a flagship IEM. It is an upgrade pretty much in every sense. If you think of like I love all BA sets. I love balance armature sets. I love the orchestra light, like is really good. And that's obviously it's $250 IEM. I think there's 8 BAs in there.
Yeah, around there. Maybe 6.
And I love an all balance armature set. And then you compare that to the U18T. It's all balance armature set, or the Valhalla, right? I think those are both like, I mean, I guess U18T is 18. I think Valhalla has 19. And like, if you know about yourself and your preferences that, this is the driver configuration that you like. I mean, I just made it really easy with all BAs, but I mean, if you get like a hybrid set and it's like you have a low end hybrid set, it's like, okay, well, that's a really good set and I really enjoy it. Let's take that same driver configuration, double it, tune similarly. Like, I think once you kind of begin to understand where your preferences lie, then that you can essentially just take that to the next level just by taking the jump and grabbing a flagship IEM. And I guess a question I had for you, one just to pick your brain on this, is like how would you go about, at what point in your listening and in your research do you think it really is worth it to take that extra splash and go for a flagship maybe an IEM specifically, because I think it is different, like what you were saying with headphones and with source material, but like IEMs it's very technical. And like you said, especially with tunings, like you're saying that flagship IEMs aren't meta, you know what I mean? And this word meta like keeps getting like thrown around, which I get.
It's everywhere. Yeah, everywhere.
Oh man.
We just hit the microphone for this, just listening, not we
watching. Get new mics, it's gonna be just as bad. I'm smacking it. I'm just
Darth Vader in the mic.
ASMR. Lost my train of thought. I guess just like, yeah, I think it becomes really technical when you get into IM. So like, how would you guide someone who has a more mid-tier, maybe their most expensive IMs, maybe like a Supernova, in that price range? Like, how would you guide someone, and at what point would you recommend the upgrade?
That's a really good question. It's a question we get a lot in customer service. And it always depends on folks who are, I can get a gauge on like what is going on in their setup. Like, are you using stock tips on the Supernova? Because it's like, I think if you haven't gotten to the point where you're kind of messing around with EQ, you're swapping out tips, you have a comparison against a bunch of other sets. Like when someone's like, hey, I have Supernova, it's my first ever IM, I really like it, but imagine if I could spend double that. It's like, slow, like pump the brakes a little bit, like slow down.
You have a really good IM.
Yeah, like I think that can set you up for failure in the hobby. I think you can immediately jump up and be like, oh wow, this wasn't as big of a jump as I was expecting. The flagship stuff kind of sucks. I'm just gonna stick with this. And it's like, okay, like
that's also wrong.
I get where you're coming from, but I would stick with what you got for right now. And venture out into other avenues like EQ, swapping tips, maybe different sources. I don't think swapping out sources makes as big of a change as some folks tend to think. But, if you're using an Apple dongle, maybe jump up to a DC Elite or something like that.
Yeah.
But for the most part, I would say once you get to the point where it's like, okay, I was on SquigLink and I EQ'd the Supernova and got the text file to EQ it to the Spectromico, which is a flagship IM. I don't know why you do that, but it's like I'm trying to think of an all about like the Valhalla. Let's do that because Supernova is all BA, and so it's Valhalla. I got the EQ adjustment to Valhalla. I really like just from that idea of that tuning style. I really want to upgrade to that. I've been swapping tips and I just can't get that level of sound quality that I want from the Supernova. Like I think then and there, it's like, okay, it's clear. You have a clear passion for this hobby. You really value sound quality at the pinnacle of what it can achieve. Like once you kind of do all those things and really enjoy your gear for a while, I think that's when I would be like, okay, yeah, you clearly know what you're setting yourself up for. If you're gonna like it, that's another thing. We'll address that when the time comes. But for the time being, when you've done all those kind of things and really have gotten the most out of your gear with EQ, tip swapping, source swapping, whatever, I think that's when I would be like, yeah, you're good to make the plunge.
Yeah, 100%. I think it's and we talk about this all the time, just amongst ourselves, but we tell customers, I feel like we've mentioned on the Bloom Pod, like, more money doesn't always mean better for you, right? When you talk about some of the flagship IMs, like this is kind of what we talked about last time a little bit. Like this is when you really start to get into like, this is an art form. Like you're buying an art piece. I mean, you're buying a piece of technology, you're buying gear. But this is when it really starts to get the level of craftsmanship, like especially like, some of them like pride themselves on just being like every unit's handmade, or like, the Valhalla has 19
it's insane
drivers, like
all branded balanced armatures. Like it's insane.
It's just like, I think that there are levels to this, and if you kind of base it off kind of what you're saying, at this point you're making like an informed investment. Like you are learning a little bit more about your proclivities and your preferences. And I just think that we just talked about this, but I just think that the hobby needs to be more generalized, that like this is a personal, I just think it needs to be more generalized how personal this hobby is, right? And like we have people, I mean I love Valhalla. I love Spectromica. I think that Valhalla is probably my favorite flagship IM.
Yeah.
I think that's probably my favorite. But people return the Valhalla. And first of all, sometimes it's too big. And then it's just
well, that's a whole different story.
Yeah, shell's too big. Yeah. Or, but I mean, people return it. It's not for them. And, we do run into, especially in CS, we do run into people like that are just chasing, like that they just have this mindset that like, well, if I spend all this money, like I know that this is going to be good, and they're neglecting the fact it's like, well, yeah, I mean, I love Valhalla. You can read on Headfi or watch anyone's review. They're probably going to be pretty gleaming reviews. Like it is like objectively a great IM. right? But like subjectively, like I don't know where you would fall in like how you like that tuning style or how that fits, or I don't know what ear tips you own. You got me wanting to talk about ear tips, by the way.
Oh, dude, I mean that's a whole thing that I think so many people. I think it's becoming more normalized now. Like Super Review's done a great job of really
that ear
pushing
tip video changed my life.
Yeah, like no, like it could change your whole perception on IM.
Yeah.
Like I always feel bad when like demo customers come in, they're like, I don't have my own ear tips.
Yeah.
It's like, we have a few pairs here, but it's like, man, it takes a while to find your preferences and be like us now can look at a nozzle and an IM and be like, oh, that's a nice HCK IM. Oh, that's a Elitech Broke. Oh, that's a Spin Fit Omni. Like, it's so crazy.
And those are my 3 exact favorite ear tips. So now you stole that from me. They're gonna think I don't know what I'm talking about. But like, would you agree that I mean, we're talking about. I don't know how we went from flagship IMs to ear tips, but I mean,
it's all part of the journey.
Yeah, it's all part of the journey. We're doing Bloom Pod. You brought it up, and like it's so true. Like, I am shocked at how many people use stock ear tips. Is it a little shocking to you?
Yeah, not in the sense that like, okay, this, like, if you're coming at it from a point of you get your IM and you're like, oh, this is what the manufacturer thinks is the best ear tip for me to use.
Is it?
I don't think so. I don't.
Okay.
Personally, I think that adds another cost to the packaging. I think maybe they have an agreement with another company to use those tips. I think maybe they did use that to tune the IM in the coupler, and in a sense, yeah, that could be the IM that the manufacturer thinks is the best. But oftentimes, I've found that a lot of stock tips included are just from sample packs from Final, and that's fine. And I think Dunu does the best job of giving you like an assortment of ear tips that are like, oh wow, like I don't really need any. Like I highlighted that in my brain dance review. Like they give you like, I think they give you like the Dunu candies and some other ear tips that it's like really a great starting stock set to have.
The Dunu accessory game is almost next. I want to say next to none.
Yeah, like, it is.
You can buy a, I don't know, how much is the SA6 Mark II? It's how much is Brain Dance is $500.
$500, yeah.
Okay. So for $500, you get a case, you get terminated, you get cables with like different termination options. You get more ear tips than you'll ever need in your life. Yep. You get a little bag. You like, I love that. I'm sorry, that's a shout out to Dunu.
I highlight it every time I review their IMs because I'm like, everyone should be taking notes on this.
It should be. I think if you're spending any amount, like if you're spending $500, it just should be industry standard. Yeah. Like I should be able to change the termination.
Yeah.
I should get a little case for my IMs. Yep. It's a little shocking how little we actually see of that.
And don't even get me started on their cables. Cables are so nice.
Dude, they're ridiculous.
Dude, it's crazy, man.
Yeah.
Like I feel like Ice Lab does a good job of that, but Dunu hits at better price point. Yeah, but Dunu hits at better price points than Ice Lab. So it's crazy, man. Yeah, Dude, shout out Dunu, man.
Yeah, but and I think and to your ear tip point, back to the ear tip conversation, I think that it kind of correlates with what we were saying with sometimes with flagship stuff, like and here we go talking about Ice Lab again, but Spectromica comes with a variety pack of Baroques.
Yeah.
So, and that, I mean, Spectromica is a pretty basic IM.
Yep.
And so, like, I think, like, surely that's intentional. So you see it sometimes, and Fat Freak as well. And I actually don't know, but is the Fat Freak ear tips that come with those IMs are just Fat Freak ear tips, correct?
I think they are. Fat Freak ear tip selection, I've never personally used them, but it is an interesting set. I don't know exactly where those are sourced from. But also some inside baseball. Ice Tongue and Eric from Elitech are very close, and I think that correlation too.
Link of the century.
Yeah, dude, they go diving together on some trips, so they'll go like scuba diving and stuff. That's a crazy pool right now to be saying that on Bloom Pod. But they were telling me that when I went to Singapore, and I was like, they're like, "Do you dive?
Did you dive with them?"
No, dude. Oh my gosh, I think if I ever go to Singapore CanJam, which I do plan on doing, and if they ever ask me that, I will 100%.
It's one of those things you have to do.
It's like a once in a lifetime opportunity.
Yeah.
But it's things like that makes connections where it's like, okay, you're like the Elitech Baroque is an amazing ear tip. Like, okay, you're making that, I'm making an IM. I definitely like respect your craftsmanship, and I think you'd respect mine enough to where we should totally collab on this. And I think more manufacturers should be doing that and making connections with people that are making great ear tips, because it's like, man, that can change a set entirely and the comfort for someone. And that could really be the deciding factor for someone to keep an IM, which is crazy.
I tell people all the time, like I use three ear tips for IMs on different IMs or for different reasons. And I kind of have like a whole methodology for it. I don't know if that's I just can't, when we start recording I forget how to speak, but
yeah, well, that's par for the course for just about anybody who does content. If you saw my back takes on some videos, oh my gosh, it's like I don't even know my name. This is insane.
But I love the nice HCK 07 ear tips are my standard save all. Don't impact the sound too much. Super comfortable, which is a little surprising. Isn't it weird how comfortable they are? You wouldn't think that the material is. I just think they're the best ear tips of all time.
They're so like firm to where it's like,
it's almost like, is this gonna work?
Yeah,
it works,
dude. They work.
Nice HCK is great. I do enjoy my Baroques, of course. The L-Tech Baroque ear tips
Bass
are.
response on those is nuts.
Yeah, I mean, so if that's what I'm looking for, I mean, I'm obviously doing Baroques. I find myself recently like just putting Baroques on everything. That's just like the mood I've been in. But customers ask all the time, like, oh, I have these ear tips, I have these ear tips. Like, I don't mind the sound of this IM. I even really like it, but I just can't get it to seal right. My save all is Spin-Fit Omni.
Yeah,
it's
the tack on that ear tip is nuts.
It's just gonna stay in there, baby. Yep. It's super comfortable. I love the quality of all the Spin-Fit ear tips. I think are fantastic. But like that's like my save all. So like I definitely I don't think I have small ears. I generally don't have an issue with fit. I actually usually have an issue with fit on a smaller shelled IM, actually. So maybe I do have bigger ears. So I struggle with some of the 64 audio stuff.
Yeah.
I struggle with...
that nozzle's so thin, dude.
Yeah, it's really thin. And some of the... like the alien brain style of Campfire IMs. Yeah. That was a different shell. Some of their, not like, I think Clar is the most comfortable IM of all time. I don't know if I get a better seal.
Dude,
but some of their lower, like mid-tier and budget IMs like have that, Campfire. It's like their house shell design. I struggle with some of those as well. And the Spin-Fit Omni, I actually size up. I'm usually medium. The large Spin-Fit Omni is like my save all to get a perfect seal. And like that's so important for me. Like when we're, critically listening, or we're, someone maybe asks us a question. How many times someone asks you a question about something, you just go grab the IM because you want to give them a good response. Yep. Like, but just that whole like formula of like, okay, like I know I like this IM with this ear tip. Okay, I got this IM. I can't get a good seal. What am I going to do? Like throw away the IM? Like, no, like not necessarily. Like, what are your ear tip preferences, and like how important do you think that is, just maybe to the sound, to the fit, and kind of like what you're saying, it can make or break an IM, but like just personally more like where are you at with that?
Well, again, to bring up Mark Ryan and kind of what he's doing on the data side of things, like we're seeing now on like his frequency response graphs, like deep insertion, shallow insertion, and like when you have a shallow insertion, like, well, there goes the bass. Like, okay, well, that's one of the most highly sought after purposes of an IM. If you don't have good bass, you're maybe not going to like the IM, like most of the time. Yeah. So like, yeah, it's really important to have something that is inserting deep. Obviously you don't want something that's way too deep and it's uncomfortable to somebody, but you want that good fit. You want to make sure it's not moving around. And I think a lot of people, from a lack of experience standpoint, do undermine that fact that like CanJams and stuff, from what I see of like some people will just like, shallow fit and just be like, oh, this IM isn't very good. And it's like, I understand.
Yeah, who's going to tell?
Yeah, and it's like,
we can just tell. It's like, you're at CanJam. It's like, bro, you don't got a good seal on that thing.
And I'll just gently nudge him like, oh, well, usually like James Deemer from Linsel did like a really good job at Xpone of like teaching people how to wear IMs and really inserting them. But that was a little bit of a tangent there. I think for me, I've been using a lot of Elatech Baroque because I've just been using a lot of wide bore nozzles. So like, Deuce, anything from Fat Freak is really in that qualification. Some stuff from Dita, I feel like I really use like Omni and Nice HDK for some reason. Like they have a wider nozzle and Baroque just doesn't work on there. So like, I do think there typically is a method to the madness, but I really do just have to do my due diligence of swapping. And
what do you use with your Neos?
I use Divinus Velvet or I use Omni. Usually Divinus Velvet because Divinus Velvet is a very interesting tip in the sense that I get a really great seal, but after a while they kind of like nudge at my ears a little bit and I do get a little bit of discomfort. And usually for IMs for me, if I can't wear them for like 3 hours, 4 hours without discomfort, like I'm pretty surprised.
Yeah.
Just from like a maybe like if the tuning of it's fatiguing, that's a different thing. But like usually from an ergonomic standpoint, if I can't get that amount of hours in, like I'm pretty surprised. So with the Neo and I'm getting any kind of discomfort there, it's like, all right, I got to switch to the Omni. But Divinus Velvet, man, that's a great tip. I just, for some reason, I mean, everybody loves it. And for some reason, it just kind of nags at my ear a little bit, which is a bummer.
I can't say I've tried it, to be honest.
Yeah, I bought a pack and I think the size I used was the one you were going to use, and then Chin ended up taking like the extra large or something like that. I can look to see if I sell some extras, but they're a really good set. They're really loved within the community.
Clean them, baby. I don't mind.
Yeah, seriously, I really could. Yeah, just give them a try because a lot of people really love them, and I think they're really good, but I don't think I'm on the hype train as much as other people are.
Yeah, you mentioned you just mentioned two creators in that, and this is something that we talk about all the time just as just fans of and just like participants in this hobby. I mean, I know this is our job, but you did a great job mentioning, I forget if it was an episode or 2 episodes ago, when we're super passionate about this.
Yep.
I work in audio all day. I go home, I fire up YouTube, and I'm just like, I'm addicted.
It is crazy.
Yeah,
it's a
bad.
Crazy concept.
It's crazy. So the Headphones Show just did. They literally just released a video about some of their favorite kind of creators in this space. And I love the idea of just, I mean, everyone in this space, I mean, that I've run into, a lot of customers, everyone's just so nice, just building each other up. And it is beautiful, and especially at CanJam. But why don't you talked about this, like, you've been doing content for Bloom for a while now, and I mean, I love your content, and I think that it might be cool, and I know a lot of people do love your content. We can tell in these YouTube comments.
Surprisingly.
Who are some of the people that like you really look up to, and how does their content kind of affect could even affect your something like your preferences, but even just generally how you approach this world, whether it's what you're listening to, how you kind of view things. Like, who are some people that mean a lot to you in that way, that have kind of inspired you, or just that maybe you're just watching on the regular?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I gotta shout out my OG to begin with, is Steve, man. Like he laid the blueprint for me. Yeah,
the wise sage. Steve from Bloom Audio.
Yep, Steve from Bloom. Like he really he laid the blueprint. He really gave me all the tools necessary I needed to kind of go. And I think I jumped into content probably too soon into my journey. Like,
same.
Yeah.
We're doing Bloom Pod right now.
I look back at some of my earlier videos and it's like, oh man. And I did try my best to do my due diligence in watching other reviews to make sure I check my boxes in, what other reviewers are saying, in the sense of like accessories and some of like, I think of my i600 review, like, had I not known, like, I did try to cable swap on that IEM, and I found that the Elatech cables weren't able to go on the MMCX connector. And it was like, oh, that's weird. And then I watched another review from DMS, who I'll talk about in a little bit, talking about how most aftermarket cables can't fit on there. So it's like, I did try to do that even when I was early on. That's a little tangent. But like it's things like that where it's like then I really started to watch content as I got into content. And I do have to give a big shout out to DMS and the whole Headphone Show. They make incredible content as a whole. Yeah. Their data contribution to the entire hobby, I mean, is kind of changing how people are tuning headphones and IEMs and how people are going about the manufacturing process. And that's huge. Like they are a very key contributor to this hobby. And I can highlight a lot of those guys over there, like Golden Sound, is really helpful for DACs and amps. You know, I don't really take his advice like on IEMs and headphones because he doesn't really do that much for that, you know, genre. But like DMS, man, that's kind of the guy that I really took a lot of inspiration from in my B-roll, in how I just go about laying out the sound of an IEM.
Yeah.
His aesthetics really just are top notch. I think Josh Velour has the best production in the hobby. Like Joshua Velour's production is just so insane to me. It's like this guy's making like audiophile content. Like I think if he went into tech solely and
he could do anything.
Like he could do anything with that level of production and be successful. So I really take a lot of notes from him. But there's a lot of other content creators that like I just don't think are getting their flowers, and it's kind of crazy. Like Andy Audio Vault, I think he has like 18,000 subs if I'm guessing right. But like his swagger is genuinely undeniable in the sense like he's just talking about IEMs like on the go, and I don't know exactly where he's located, but like he's just in like the streets of whatever city he's in, and he's just like got his IEMs in, and he's just taking like his I don't know if his cameraman's like really well versed in production quality or whatever, but he's just taking incredible shots, and he's so casual about his takes about stuff, and he's just really informative. And I don't know, I really always appreciate his content. Giz Audio, when it was Timmy, was really good, but then it seemed like Timmy went to Hangout, and I don't know if he sold the channel or if he gave it to somebody else, but there's a few creators on there that are really good. There's Axel, and I forget the other guy's name, but he I've watched him a few times, and he's pretty good. But Axel, more recently, I've been watching his reviews, and I've been like, dude, like you're really up there. HBB, I'm gonna leave that one to you to really describe because I know you love HBB, but
I'll do my best. I can't do him justice.
HBB's, I mean, he is just such a straight shooter. It's like I know exactly what I'm getting with him, but then he'll go on a tangent that is just like, wait, how did we get here? And then he wraps up the video with a rating, and it's like, okay. I think I got what I needed from that.
That was his Martillo review, right? that was the most recent one. It was a 9-minute video. He talked about, I think, the driver configuration. And then about 8 minutes later, the video ended. He actually didn't talk about the IEM.
Didn't even give a rating.
It was one of my favorite HBB videos of all time.
Because that's the HBB experience. I mean, that's what you're getting. But, you know, I don't want to leave anybody else on
HBB,
this.
please come on our podcast.
Yeah, seriously, dude. Oh, man, that's the dream. I don't want to leave anybody out because I know there's people I'm missing, but I think the last one I would shout out is James Deemer, man. I mean,
man, you took it from
dude. It's like crazy. Like I watch his interviews with people who maybe aren't in this hobby, but are doing much bigger things than just the enjoyment of music. Like the guy that he had on recently, I want to say his name was Wes. I think his name was Wes, but he's doing live sound for like animal documentaries and the frequency in which they communicate. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I'm talking about like the Dunu brain dance right now.
Sebastian Dunn.
Sebastian. I don't know why I said Wes. But like Sebastian is doing things that are just so head and shoulders over what I'm doing. And I'm just like,
that was a trippy video, man.
Yeah, it was. It was. And it's like, you're talking about like putting a microphone to ostrich eggs and hearing the heartbeat for the first time. And it's like, dude, like, what is this? Like, I don't know anything about this culture. And James is just interviewing this guy in Fiji.
Well, that's like,
it's like, how is this not getting?
James is super unique. I love like because he does like an IM review. You know, he just did a IM review.
He did the Zen
what IM. Oh, I didn't see it
I
yet.
haven't watched it yet. It was over the weekend.
I was looking at his Woodnote review, and
I watched that one too.
it was so interesting. I love his reviews. They're very straightforward, very to the point, very informative.
Yeah. He started going in on cables in that Woodnote video, and it was killing me, dude. He just straight up, these just don't matter, don't make a difference. And it was just so matter of fact, and right in the beginning of the video that it really.
He couldn't even be bothered to explain why.
Yeah, he was just like, people think copper means more warm and silver means more detailed. Just doesn't matter. It's just so funny to me. I just so like stoic as he says that. I don't know.
It is kind of stoic.
He is stoic. Yeah, with the scar now too. He's epic. He's just so like, I don't know. Yeah,
I do love the uniqueness in his videos. He's a great interviewer. And I love that he's a straight shooter, and the production quality that he does.
Really good.
I don't know if he edits.
When we did the interview together, he said he sent it to his editor. So I don't know if he edits.
Whatever they're doing at Linsol looks amazing.
Yeah, it looks really good.
It looks really good. Yeah. And I do love I joke around all the time. I'm like, oh, my favorite creator in the space is Matt and Steve. And and I do love your guys' videos. And for me, like, I mean, I don't, my role in content is way, way less than obviously you and Steve. But I think just making reels and writing articles like that, I definitely look up to you guys a ton. But I love how straightforward, someone like James, I mean, obviously HBB, unfiltered. Yeah, like I really do love that. And, I've been trying to do more of the short form stuff on Instagram or on YouTube Reels, just trying to, I feel like that is an area that we can improve in. And you got to be straightforward, man. You got 60 seconds. Like, how do you talk about the Scarlett Mini in 60 seconds? How do you I mean, you guys do IEM reviews. I mean, some of them, anywhere between 14, 20 minutes.
And I could go longer.
You could definitely go longer. Because it's, and it's hard. It's such a crazy thing, especially that we do or that other content creators do in this hobby, because people ask all the time, like, I just wish there was a way I could listen to this before I buy it. And so it's so important. I mean, we just had that dude come in the other day who bought the Prismatica, and we were like, how'd you get into the hobby? Like, do you watch any creators? And he's like, no. And I would just encourage, like, I mean, we just rattled off a whole bunch of them, but, I mean, we make videos, but there's so many awesome creators who, find someone who you like their personality, and then just go from there. I mean, I love Mark Ryan is so informative. That's he's kind of the GOAT. Yeah. And like, those guys like helped me a lot. Like when I was just getting into the hobby, remember my first couple weeks at Bloom, like I was just like so addicted and so infatuated, and like, I still feel like a noob, but I was really a noob, And on my weekends, like I'm just watching all these guys. Yeah. Like, I just want to learn, like, how they talk. Like, they're saying, you're using audiophile jargon, and then I'm looking up, what does this mean? ChatGPT, what does this mean in relation to IMs? Like, so it's a great way to learn. I mean, I think it can help you make, decisions. We talked about last time, we just talked about today, like, making, your next audio purchase, or just staying involved with the community. It's a great community. Yeah. And I think that I'm just so happy that there are so many options and so many avenues that you could go to for like content consumption in this hobby, and it's helped me a ton. And you guys, I mean, you and Steve have helped me a ton just since I've been here. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know. I'm glad. I mean, I'm also just completely addicted at this point. Yeah, so man. Like, I just like can't stop. I can't wait to watch James' Top Pro video. But
I really don't mean to short anybody in the chances are, if you're putting out over 1,000 views, or I've watched audio reviews that have like 200 views, like I've probably seen some of your content, and I've probly commented on it like, wow, this is a really great review, because there's just so many people out there, like Audio Amigo I didn't even mention,
Tim
Duckbloke. How did I not mention Duckbloke? I feel like that goes without.
We had a big Duckbloke episode last time.
Duckbloke's episode. Yeah. So no, I think
have him on.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%. That's for sure coming soon. But like what you were saying and how much they've helped you along your journey, like it is crazy. Like there's just so many people out there that I look up to still to this day. In the sense of like, wow, you really helped me build my foundation. And also, shout out Pud makes headphones. I mean, he's like on the verge of straight up stardom. I'm surprised he doesn't post more long form content. I know his stuff hits big on shorts, but his long form content and like the process of him making a headphone,
those headphones sound good.
I actually, it's crazy that
he was at CanJam, right?
With headphones.com. And it's like,
dude,
they draw. I know they draw so much attention.
I didn't get around to listening to it. There's such a big line.
Every time I went over there, I was like, all right, there's only like 4 people there. Maybe if I go listen to something on my checklist, because again, we only have like
we don't get a lot of time
hours.
Well, you get more. You get more time than me, bloke.
I do, and it is seniority. You know?
Yeah, I get it.
But I do. I don't know. I think from the measurements he's shown, for what he's making, it seems like okay.
If you guys, by the way, don't know who Pud is,
look him up.
He definitely look him up if you want a good time. Yeah. He makes headphones that are intentionally, comically
ridiculous,
just the craziest build design, like making AirPods, and the AirPods come out to here. And they like the OG AirPod, the Croc headphones, the water fountain headphones, like literally like. That's a good time.
Yeah, the bass medallion I think is what he's most known for, where it's like the huge bass resonator cavity, and then like the medallion.
And then you wear the medallion.
Yeah. He makes awesome stuff.
That would probably give me an anxiety attack, but this is kind of fun because we're talking about reviewing, and a lot of times we have to be pretty critical, like when we review stuff. As we are selling these things, right? And so that's what I'm saying, like how much you can learn from it. But I guess just for you as someone who works at Bloom, makes content for Bloom, but is also like would just call yourself an audiophile and you just love this hobby. How do you balance like when you're reviewing something and critically listening, or maybe you're just like casually listening to a set that you enjoy, or how do you separate those two things as you are kind of in two different areas of this hobby? I think that this is like an interesting point. Kind of like maybe does your relationship change with a certain piece of gear, or I don't know.
Yeah, this is a premise I've always been interested in since the second I got into content, because I realized how quickly my mind shifted in how I view products and things like that. And then it was a premise that was kind of built upon in the interview between James and Resolve, which was a really great interview. But it is an interesting concept, because immediately when I go into a product, first question I ask myself is, would I genuinely spend money on this? Would I buy this with my own money? Because at the end of the day, most people that are watching the reviews, that's kind of what they're asking. I watch reviews just to gain more knowledge on things in the hobby and stuff like that. But for the most part, people, if you're watching that review, you kind of have your financial interests in the forefront of your mind.
Yeah.
And I've struggled with it in the sense of like, now sometimes I find myself just listening to an IM with that mindset instead of being like, well, even if I don't want to buy it, I can still enjoy it and stuff. But at the forefront of all my listening is, would I buy this? And that's just something I always take into me. And I think it's just ingrained in my memory at this point. And I feel like to counteract that, for the most part, I just occasionally have to take something off the shelf that I don't really like and just listen to it. And just kind of be like, like...
I love when you do that.
Yeah, like
you always have such nice things to say in the Slack channel.
Yeah, I'll start rattling some thoughts, but it's like, I'll take a few of those IMs and just take them for a day. See what I can find. I'm not reviewing it. Let me see what I can, learn from it.
Maybe someone shot us an email about it or something.
And it's like I want to be, 100%. Up to date on that IM sound signature and what it sounds like. But then there are other days where I take something that I just really like off the shelf and I just take it for a walk. I take it home for the weekend and I just really enjoy it. And it's like, I'm not reviewing this. I'm not talking about this in a live chat or an email. I'm just enjoying it for my own personal reasons. I want to listen to a new jazz album that just came out that I really want to hear on this set. Like it's things like that where it just, you really have to pull yourself back from content and just realize that if I lost my job in content today after BloomPod's posted, because it's mid, like I would still love this hobby and I still want to enjoy these products. So I think it's just important to just, for our sake, just take something off the shelf. But for somebody that isn't doesn't have access to all this gear, just enjoy it. Just listen to it. Just, you know.
Yeah, it's interesting because we're in a peculiar spot where we do have to stay up to date with everything regardless. Like, you know, Bloom don't care if we like it or not, bro. We got to know about it. We got to listen to it. And 100%. So that it's interesting. Like I don't generally like super technical IMs. I don't generally like a reference sound. Which I think sometimes for me, like I struggle with 64 audio even. And there's 64 audio IMs I like, but like I've had takes on 64 audio. I get noob allegations and like, you know what? Like that's been me for a while. And recently it's funny, like I've just been listening to, I've been listening to U6T a lot recently, which is like a pretty cold reference IM, very technical, something that I would have been turned off to a couple months ago. I've been really enjoying it recently. And like, I think just, I've been trying to kind of think of things in a sense of, well, these are like a lot of these, even if I don't like it, these are objectively good sets of IMs that people really enjoy. And like, for me to like do my job diligently, like I need to be able to let this guy know like what he's getting into with this set, And I tell customers, like, I'm like, they give me, oh, can you compare, I'm in between this IM and this IM. Like, what do you think about, like, what can you tell me about it? Or people ask for my thoughts. And I tell them, like, dude, I definitely prefer this IM. Like, I'm not going to sugarcoat it, but, I think that it's a hard balance that you have to strike when you are making content and you are, selling something, as opposed to like, where are your preferences and how do you really feel about it? And I think that, I think you and Steve do a pretty good job of just telling people like really how you feel. I know in CS, like, I mean, if you hop in our live chat and you ask for some recommendations, like we're probably going to tell you to get like our favorite IMs, right? But then when you're talking about, like for me, like if I feel like my not nightmare, but if somebody asked me to compare like a Campfire IM and a 64 audio IM, I'd be like, brother, I gotta listen to them because like I just don't find myself listening to those sets as much nowadays because in my maybe laziness or in my own like enjoyment of the hobby, I just like find myself wanting to listen to stuff that I love all the time. It's like I can't do that, like I man, it's so funny when I'm in like right now I'm working on a true wireless guide. I want to listen to my
wired set so bad.
But I can't. I got to grind this guide out. And so, but that makes it all the sweeter when I get to edit it. And I'm just like with my IMs, I'm like, oh, this is nice. Like,
and it is interesting.
It's not a shade on True Wireless, by the way. I'm just saying like, it is hard. Like, and I think this is such an interesting question you came up with in balancing like your critical and then your casual listening. And I think that this question does apply to more people than just content creators because I think that if you find yourself at CanJam and maybe you have a budget, and I mean at CanJam, I've never been in a room with so much audio gear in my life. I mean, you would think that this freaking office is, but it's not even close. And so like, if you're someone that's going to your first CanJam, like what do you think? What do you think is a good like starter pack plan for like someone, they got a couple of IMs, they're going to CanJam, maybe they're meeting up with friends, but like, they're checking stuff out. Like, how would you go about like, okay, right now I'm critically listening and like, I could see myself doing this, or kind of what would be your advice on that?
Yeah. I think if you're really taking the hobby super seriously and you really want to find a set that works best for you, go to HeadFi, look at all the vendors that are coming, copy and paste any ones that look interesting to you, and YouTube, see what the big like heavy hitters are from that brand. Like, okay, all right, let's just use 64 Audio for example. They came out with the Solo most recently. Okay, they have the Solo there. All right, let's list that. That's a plain RIM. It hits my budget of $14.99. I got to highlight that one. You may go there. You may not like it. You may love it. Just listen to it, get it off your checklist, bring your notes, write it down.
Yeah.
And I think from there, like when you do that and you have a set guide, like I used to just go into CanJam and just like, well, let's walk around and see what I find. And like I just realized so quickly, like, oh no, I need a blueprint. I need a blueprint, and I need to follow that to set my baseline of like, and that'll show you what you're gonna listen to for enjoyment and listen to, for just getting an idea of what else is out there on the market. Like, you may find that you really like planar IMs. You may find that you hate planar IMs. Like, but I would just listen to them regardless. So then, you can just get an idea and get a baseline of what you like. Because that's going to make your after CanJam, buying decision a lot easier. Like, okay, I listened to a bunch of all balanced armature sets at CanJam. This was the best one. This had this kind of tuning style. I'm going to look for maybe something that has a similar tuning style, but maybe adds in a DD because I listened to a single DD IEM that I really liked. And I would have never thought of that, had I not set the blueprint. So I think it's doing stuff like that really just opens you up to a whole bunch of different sets. And I'm using primarily IEMs as an example, but the same goes for headphones. You may never listen to a ribbon driver style headphone like the Ralamanus or the Magna, and because you've just always looked at dynamic driver sets and planar sets and things like that. And it's like, go to that Head 5 vendor thread, see who's all going, see if any content creators are making pre-CanJam guides. Like, I know Head 5 does do a pre-CanJam video. Granted, they're 3 hours and 30 minutes long.
Aren't they so much fun though?
They
awesome. Get me so fired up.
Dude, they get me so fired up, and I will watch for the most part in the sense of like, this shows me so much of what's going to be highlighted at the show. So if you're really going to CanJam, I would encourage you watch that video. Whether you put it on 1.5 speed or not is up to you. I do. Like, because there's a lot of stuff in there that's like, okay, I've listened to that, listen to that. Yeah. And it's like, I want to see the new stuff. But if it wasn't for that video, man, like when I went to CanJam Singapore, I probably would have been pretty lost on that showroom floor. Like, I didn't know that 7th Q6 was attending flight. And I'm watching on the flight because it's a 19-hour flight. And it's like, oh, like 7th Q's got to be there?
It's a 19-hour flight.
19 hours and 42 minutes direct. Longest flight in the world. Longest direct flight in the world. That was experience. But I had that Head 5 video and I was like, wow. Like,
did you sit next to Andrew or were you guys separated?
No, separated.
Did you got a lot of room on that flight?
Andrew did.
Andrew sat first class and you didn't?
Yeah. I mean, dude, he's the boss. I'm going to Singapore for free. Like, I'm not.
I totally hear you, bro.
The baggage.
It's just funny.
Yeah, it is funny. But I sat next to a really nice lady, and we talked about, because she's originally from Singapore, and we talked about kind of the culture there, and she gave me a lot of good tips about like managing the city.
Thank God. Yeah.
Yeah, but like that video like opened so many doors for my listening and for brands that we brought on. So like it's things like that where whether you're a casual audiophile or if you're really deep in the hobby, check out resources like that. Really form baseline list.
I think what you did for us CS boys at the last CanJam was super cool. We did a shared note, and you were just like, hey, drop your impressions in here. Or just stuff like you wanted us to kind of have our formulated note, like exactly what you're talking about, kind of together. And it was so much fun. I think you guys got on the floor before I did. And so for me, it was like I had a couple things that I wanted to check out, but, I even just it was helpful to me to hear like your guys' impressions, like, oh, okay, he didn't like that one, but I think that might be right up my alley.
Exactly.
Like, I'm going to go for that. And I think we did star ratings, which since then, I don't like judging an IM that quickly. I just think it's kind of crazy.
CanJam impressions are totally different than something dedicated, but you have to know that going in, which is a whole other topic.
Yeah, exactly. But, but we would give like a star rating or whatever, which it's like I'm rating an IM off of like 6 minutes of listening, which like I just generally don't approve of at this point. But, those are back in my noob days, so. Yeah. But yeah, no, I think that's super interesting. I love hearing your take on it as someone who works at Bloom and does content, but also just as a fan of this hobby. I'm gonna switch gears a little bit. I feel like it's been a big IM episode, but we have a CS question of the week that is very interesting. I don't know how long we've been going for. I think we're fine.
We're fine.
Okay, they keep getting longer.
Yeah. There's too much to talk about, man.
Yeah, there's so much to talk about. The CS question of the week you wrote down is, and this is in reference to someone I think shot us an email. We get emails like this all the time. But someone just shot us an email about the DX160 it was. Yeah. And he wants to do battery swap. And I guess I mean we obviously we handle a lot of iBasso stuff, and we offer services like we'll take in with certain DAP units, like we'll take in your unit, and sometimes we can flash it now, um, or we'll do the battery swap here. Or we'll just be, we'll grab your unit, we'll send it to iBasso. Like, there's obviously warranty things involved, or even if it's not warranty, like, we want your gear, you invest in a, DX 320. It's like, after a couple of years, if you need a new battery, like you want to be able to swap that thing out.
Yeah,
You don't
you
need a new
spent
unit.
money on that.
Yeah, exactly. Or $500 on the DX 180 or whatever it is now with the tariffs. But the question is just like, what can manufacturers do? Manufacturers.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get better, I promise. What can manufacturers do to help make more user serviceable parts? For I think especially maybe not even just in a DAP, but I was thinking like headphones.
Yeah, primarily headphones, honestly.
Or even desktop units. DAP is easy to talk about because like we see that a lot. But I guess like what would be just like your take on like maybe something that you want to see with like this guy needs a DX 160 battery, like I'm not familiar enough with the unit, unfortunately it predates me, but I'm not sure, like, can we pop that back off and swap that thing out? Like, can he get a DX 160 battery shipped to him? Like, there's just this general question of like making the products more sustainable, especially when, I mean, you are sinking like cold hard freaking cash into these things. Like, and it can be a little bit of a bummer if you're on a DAP having a battery issue, or something like a driver failure would be way more complicated, obviously, but I don't think that's really what we're talking about. I think something like that, like, what do you want to see in this hobby generally to make your products more of an investment and more sustainable?
Yeah, I think iBasso is really taking the charge for digital audio players in having the swappable batteries. I think that's a huge thing. I think it's been a big draw for a lot of customers and being like, oh, I have to ship this back to overseas instead of just I could buy the battery straight from you guys. Like, I'll clearly go with iBasso. But digital audio players, at its core premise is a motherboard, a screen, and a battery. Obviously, there's way more to it, but for the most part,
a DAC chip.
Yeah. So it's like that's pretty simple. Well, what do we do about headphones? I think DMS has not only brought a lot of awareness to this, but also took the charge in himself when he made Project Omega, which is his headphone. It's not even like a collab headphone. It's his headphone that he manufactured at first in New York City, and then when he moved to Tennessee, he manufactured the rest of the parts there. And he made all the units, developed it himself, did all these parts, and then made it open source and literally just gave the files to everybody and being like, yeah, once you get a unit, you can then, if you have a 3D printer, you can literally replace parts yourself. And it's like, whoa, like, okay, that opens Pandora's box to a whole different realm of headphones. Like, that's really cool. And I think manufacturers should be taking note of how many do-it-yourself creators are starting to emerge in this hobby. Like, Pud is developing, crazy headphones, maybe not super practical headphones, but he is making most of these parts himself with a 3D printer. So it's like, okay, well, the more people get 3D printers, the more that opens the door for files. Yeah. There's guys like Capper Strap, who Brian from Capper Strap, I should say, who's making 3D printed headbands that people are going crazy for. It is a really great movement because I've recommended them a lot to people, and they've saved the comfort of headphones for people. And like some guy was like, dude, I have an Edition XS. I love the sound. It doesn't fit my head. And I was like, dude, get a Hi-Fi Man Capper Strap. It's $8 or something like that, $9, probably 13 shipped. And the guy's like, dude, this totally saved the headphone for me.
That's
awesome.
Like,
I love it, man. It's like, that's 3D printed. That, he 3D printed our measurement rig. So it's like there are emerging creators in this space that are making more 3D printed stuff. And it's like sustainability is a really big factor for them. And it's going to be a big factor for people as this hobby grows and Flagship gear is bought more and more between people who are like, okay, I got my feet wet in the hobby, but I really want to make that big splash. And when you make that big splash, you really, really want to make sure it lasts. And I also think that's a big selling point for why dealers in this hobby do need to exist. And a lot of dealers offer really great customer support in this hobby. That is not the standard for a lot of other shops out there. If anybody's dealt with anything customer service related, chances are you've had a negative experience. So if dealers can help you in getting that process facilitated, especially when a lot of these people or manufacturers are established overseas and maybe don't speak the best English, or maybe just don't have time for that because they're manufacturing the products, dealers are really big in helping people get their gear fixed and stuff. And, I've heard not just, people talk about Bloom. I've heard it talk about, Music Tab helped me. Oh, headphones.com helped me, Moon Audio, whatever. Like all those dealers out there that are doing a good job of facilitating warranty requests and things like that. That's really important. So I think it's a multitude of different things. I don't think there's one point that needs to be discussed, but I think people like DMS that are leading that charge. I think dealers like us and many others out there that are really, really sold on the fact that when you buy this gear, we want it to last. Like Deed Audio in Singapore, when we sat down and talked with them, they were like, we have a 10-year limited warranty, in the sense that like we want to service your gear as long as we have parts. If you have a Project M that fails, send it to us. Maybe it's I don't know how much of a repair it is. I don't want to speak on their behalf or something, but they can service it, outside of the 1-year warranty, where if it's within 1 year, you're getting that, done for free. If it's outside of that, at least they have the parts on hand to fix your gear for 10 years. I mean, that's
crazy.
That's a great seal of service for folks, or a good guarantee for, someone who just bought, a $325 IEM, let alone, flagship gear. You want that guarantee. And I think it's a melting pot of all these people that can come together to make a really great buying experience.
Yeah. The stuff you mentioned with the community and the 3D printing stuff is insane, especially like with our measure. Who was it that was our measurement rig?
Brian from Capra Audio. He owns Capra Audio.
Shout out.
Dude, Brian's the man. I've talked with him.
Our measurement rig is awesome.
Yeah, I've talked with him
super cool.
at Expona and CanJam New York City most recently, but I've known about his products before that, as he's really involved in the community.
And he's making swappable straps for headphones.
So it's kind of like a strap add-on. So it's not like swappable in the sense that like...
Yeah, because I'm just trying to think about like how on the Edition XS. Like...
It's like... I'm just pulling it up right now on my laptop. If you've seen it, you've seen it. If you haven't, you haven't. Like here it is. Like, so it kind of just goes under that headband, and it's an extra support.
Oh
unit.
Yeah.
And it really is cool. If you're not familiar with it, I'd highly.
We should put a video. We should put a picture.
Yeah. Well, I'll put one up. Apparently, it's been huge for the FT1, and the FT1 Pro.
Yeah.
If you struggle with comfort, I usually don't struggle too much with those headphones. But I know he has some for Focal, and sometimes I can develop a little bit of a hot spot with Focal, and apparently that helps alleviate all the weight and stuff like that. So, yeah, I mean, stuff like that is just, I think it's important for manufacturers to take note, man. Like, people are out here printing stuff that just, like really increase the quality of life you're getting from a product. So.
Yeah, and I just want to talk about Ibasso and like with the swappable battery thing, because there's some batteries I would love to see it streamlined, like streamlined in a user friendly way.
Yep.
Across every DAP moving forward from any
people
brand.
Are taking notes.
I think so.
People are taking notes.
And I mean, and it is kind of maybe it's a little intimidating. I mean coming from Buds, like doing like it's not like it's fixing a DAP battery's electrical work, but you're noodling around in there. Like, I mean,
you did pools.
Yeah.
For those who
yeah.
So,
pool boy.
Yep. A lot of
Andrew saved my life.
And,
yeah. So like a lot of replacement parts. Like, I mean, I totally understand. Like, it can be a little intimidating, but I think you'd be pretty surprised with how easy it is to swap out a DX180 battery.
Yeah.
Now, on the contrary, there's I forget what it is, which one you have to melt the back off of.
The X320.
Which is just
just have to remove the adhesive around the edges, and it's like, dude, like anytime a customer is like, oh, I have a DX320 and I'm just gonna buy the battery and do it myself, I'm just like, bro, like I highly encourage you don't.
Yeah.
Because it is a
and that's a bummer.
Process. It is a bummer.
I should be able to have an iFixit kit.
Mm-hmm.
and do a battery swap. Battery swap's not hard. Or your termination jack's loose. You know, maybe
those are pretty simple
like
too.
I should be able, but what if that happens on the DX320?
There you gotta
send
it back to Bloom.
You gotta send it back to Bloom, and we will take great care of you.
Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, I would love. I guess for me, like, I just think about DAPs because I mean, something like I think that on a tube amp, you can swap out your tubes.
Yeah, if there's a problem with the tubes, it's usually pretty simple.
Pretty simple. I think when it comes to a headphone, man, if you're wearing them headphones, you're wearing out the pads, like. Some brands make it really easy to swap out the brands, but some brands don't.
I can't with that. The glued-on pads, we gotta stop.
What are we doing?
We gotta stop, man. I can't. It's like the Meze magnetic swap, dude. That like with the Elite and the Empyrean 2, where you just pull them off. It's like, bro. And Lyric 2 did switch to it, but at first it was adhesive, and it was like, dude, why?
The adhesive, I love. Yeah, the magnetic pad is awesome.
Awesome.
That again. Like manufacturers, no one's listening. But if manufacturers are listening, that needs to be streamlined.
Take note.
Like it just needs to be streamlined to be able to swap out your pads. I just feel like if you spend, I mean, if you're spending thousands of dollars on a flagship headphone after a couple years, I just don't think you should have to send it back to us to swap out your ear pads, man.
Even now, $800, $500 offerings should be having this as more research comes out, more data and stuff. It's more, I'd say, expected at that price range, but we really should be doing a race to the bottom and making sure all these parts are accessible.
Dude, the race to the bottom is huge right now. And it ties into everything that we talked about with, okay, I buy a DAP. If I own an iFixit kit that I bought from Amazon, I should be able to tighten up the, if something happens, right? If I bought a headphone, should just be able to swap out the ear pads. Yep. You know what I mean? I'm trying to think of other examples, but
IEMs are tougher.
Or how about if I have an IEM, I should be able to have a cable that can terminate out like Dunu does, or where I can swap terminations. Like there's these things that to us they just make sense. It's like obviously, why wouldn't I have that? I mean, I guess that's why we're not manufacturers. I don't even want to act like I have any idea what goes into making these decisions on how the back of your DAP attaches to the rest of the unit, right? I'm not in those conversations, but that is something that I guess just I would love to see. Just tying in with that question, like I guess he's sending his DX160 back to us, if I had to imagine.
Yeah. So
I mean, we do sell some batteries for DAPs, but I do think that would be cool if that was something that was able to be streamlined across just about everything.
Yeah, I'd love
just to make it easier, and this community will help. Like this community, like you're saying, like they'll help out. Like I just would love if the manufacturers were able to do that a little bit more.
Shout out Matt Clark.
Matt Clark is the.
If you've seen him on HeadFi, man, he is.
Yeah,
he's making those guides, optimization.
Those flash guides are incredible.
Guides,
How many RMA units that just need to be flashed?
Good bit of them.
It's amazing.
It is amazing.
And it's just he's just doing it like
free of charge for the community.
It's a hobby for the community because he loves audio and he loves these DAPs.
Yeah.
Like there's people like Matt Clark or I just the community will help. Like I do wish it was a little bit more streamlined.
Yeah, agree.
But yeah, man, that's all we have. That's all we have written down for today.
Yeah.
I don't know how long we've been going for.
Who knows at this point?
I can't read the screen.
I can't read the screen either, but hey, man.
Do you have anything else you want to wrap up with on episode 3?
No, I think
anything for the people?
For the people, again, appreciate the support, comments. Comments really mean a lot to us. Like we're active. As you can see, we're responding. Just a few minutes or seconds, it feels like. So yeah, man, we really appreciate that. Again, if you have any feedback for us, we're always open to it.
I should just say, like in YouTube comments, or we really do want to try and incorporate. I mean, as we are first and foremost like customer service agents at Bloom.
Yeah.
So I mean, all the content stuff is loads of fun, and we're so lucky to be able to do it. But that's our title, That's what we're doing. So like, I just think that we get a ton of questions, but if there's anything that you guys want to see us talk about or highlight,
for sure.
You can obviously hop in our live chat or shoot us an email and we'll jot it down. But, comment on YouTube. If you have anything, any pointers, anything you want us to address, we'll get into it, baby.
Sweet, man.
So, yeah. I think that's it.
Let's eat some lunch.
Oh, yeah. Oh, my gosh, it's lunchtime.
Yep.
All right.
Peace. Everybody.
Peace, noobs.